This is the ASW28 Electric glider from Volantex RC. Take note that I am by no means an expert, but I wanted to share my opinion about this plane. First, let's look at the specification. It has a wingspan of about 2.5 meters and it is about 1 meter in length. It has a 3S4018 850 kV motor and a 30 amp speed controller. All servos are installed, and unlike its full-scale counterpart, this model is equipped with flaps. Its wings are made of EPO and it has a plastic fuselage. It's recommended to use a 3S 1500 mAh battery, and the total flying weight is then about 1 kilogram. So you get everything you need except for a radio, receiver and a battery. This plane could have given me a very good first impression, but unfortunately I ran into a few problems. First of all, the metal tube that joins the wings was way too tight on one of the sides, so the last 6mm I had to cut off with a hacksaw. The supplied screwdriver did not fit the screws, and the angle they wanted us to use when you are attaching the servo horns to the servos on the wings was way too steep, so I had to cut a hole into the wings. The manual started out quite nicely. It has pictures and text to give a good explanation on how to put the plane together, but it doesn't tell you what type of screws to use where. So then you have to start guessing, and that takes time and it's annoying. So my first impression of this plane is that this is a typical cheap hobbyking product. But when the plane is complete, you quickly forget about all the problems, because it feels very sturdy and it looks very good and you just can't wait to get it in the air. I have read that for some people the canopy has got loose during flight, but this has not happened to me yet. It did feel secure up till the point where I made a small tear, but that was my own fault for applying too much force. The recommended center of gravity is quite clearly marked under the wing, so when you are out on the field and you want to change to a bigger battery or perhaps add the camera, it is very easy to double check that the center of gravity is correct. Assembling this plane does take a little bit of time, which is to be expected, but it would be nice if you connected the servos on the wing with some connectors embedded in the wings and the fuselage instead of pulling out servo cables. The plane is not as good for acrobatic flying, but it is great for relaxed flying in calm conditions. It does like speed, so don't slow down too much. Make sure you don't make this plane tail heavy at all, as it will quickly become a lot harder to fly. Hand launching is quite easy with this plane, and the motor is quite powerful enough to quickly climb up in the air. It doesn't seem like it glides exceptionally well though. My brother and I tried to find thermals, and I used the ASW28, my brother used the Bixler. We could not find any thermals, but the Bixler seemed to glide just as good as the AWS, but we did not make a control test. I did have some FPV equipment installed that surely reduced its ability to glide, and I would think that I would be able to take better advantage of thermals. This plane will climb just by increasing the throttle, so I think the horizontal stabilizer needs an adjustment. The ailerons or its throws should perhaps be extended, since the plane is unpredictable, and in windy conditions it can be very hard to keep control of the plane. You have to use the rudder a lot, but sometimes it's not enough. So who is this plane for? Well, it's not for beginners and it's not for acrobatic flying, and from what I've read, it is usable but not great for slope soaring. It is decent for flying on thermals. I think it's great for me since I wanted a low-cost big glider that I could fly on thermals, with a lot of space for FPV equipment and batteries. They also claim that the fuselage is strong and can take less than ideal landings, which is great because 1, I'm not a very skilled pilot, so I do crash sometimes, and 2, I like to fly in different places where there's usually no field to land on. So I'm mostly happy with this plane, but I wish it would be better to handle turbulent weather. So that's it for this review. I do hope you enjoyed the video. You can also check us out on Facebook for some extra content and get a bit earlier access to videos. But until next time, fly safe and happy flying!